Why does society obsess so much over women's bodies? Not just their appearance, but their movement, their clothing, their choices, their relationships, their purity, their so called honor. And what does it mean to bring dishonor to a family? Is it wearing the wrong clothes, loving the wrong person, speaking too loudly, or simply being a woman with a will of her own? Welcome to the Personal Lens, where we explore the political through the personal. I'm your host, and in today's episode, we are asking a dangerous question: whose honor are we protecting? And why does that protection so often come at the cost of a woman's life, body, and autonomy? Across homes, headlines, and history books, we hear this word, honor, wrapped tightly around women's lives. But look closely and you'll see that honor isn't about dignity. It's about control, about fear disguised as tradition, about a society so terrified of women's freedom that it turns their choices into crimes. Because if we look closely, you'll see that what we call honor is often a leash, and that leash is almost always tied around necks of women. Today, we pull that leash apart. We'll trace how shame is used as a weapon, from whispered gossip in small towns to brutal honor killings, from virginity tests to moral policing online. We'll revisit cases that shook the conscience of the nation and many that didn't even make the news. Because the truth is, when a woman's worth is tied to someone else's honor, it's not just her freedom that's in danger, it's her very existence. Stay with me. So, what is honor and who defines it? Let's start by defining our terms. Honor in patriarchal societies is less about virtue and more about control. It's a set of rules, unspoken but strictly enforced, that dictate how women must behave to be seen as respectable. And here's the twist: this honor isn't even theirs. It's assigned to them but owned by others: fathers, brothers, husbands, communities, nations. As feminist scholar Uma Chakravarti notes, honor is tied to sexual control. A woman who steps outside prescribed norms, who chooses her own partner, has premarital sex, dresses provocatively, or even just speaks up, is seen as dishonorable. But why is honor only ever a woman's burden? The chilling reality of honor killings. So let's talk about one of the most brutal manifestations of this so called honor killings. Now, the term itself is a contradiction: honor. What's honorable about killing? In 2023, two young lovers in Uttar Pradesh were hacked to death by the woman's brothers. Why? Because she dared to fall in love across caste lines. In Rajasthan, a girl was burned alive by her family. In Tamil Nadu, a Dalit man was hacked in broad daylight for marrying an upper caste woman. Their only crime? Choosing who to love. And these are just the cases that make headlines. For every honor killing reported, there are countless others buried in silence, disguised as accidents, suicides, or missing persons. Think about that. A woman exercises agency over her body, her heart, her future, and her own family becomes her executioner. Not to protect her, not out of love, but to uphold some fragile, fictional concept of family pride, because a daughter's choice can bring shame. It's not about safety, it's about control. It's about community, the khap, the extended family dictating who a woman can speak to, marry, live with, and punishing her if she doesn't comply. And caste plays a massive role in this violence. Intercaste and interfaith marriages often trigger the harshest forms of backlash. Dalit and Muslim men are frequently targeted, brutally killed to send a message: you don't touch our women. What does that tell us? That women are still seen as property, carriers of lineage, pawns in the game of honor politics, vessels of purity. And the price of stepping out of line, often death. Let's pause and consider one of the most powerful tools of patriarchy: not violence, not surveillance, but something far more subtle, far more insidious: shame. Shame doesn't leave bruises on the body. It festers silently in the mind. It whispers, you're wrong for wanting that. You're dirty for showing that. You're too much. You're not enough. Across cultures, across centuries, shame has been systematically weaponized to control women's behavior, desires, and bodies. From childhood, girls are taught not to sit with their legs apart, not to talk too loudly, not to laugh too freely, not to bleed visibly, not to be angry, not to want. Shame teaches us to internalize surveillance so that even when no one is watching, we police ourselves. Consider how a woman's sexual history or even the mere perception of it can be used to discredit her completely. In courtrooms, in families, in the media. Victim blaming is not just about disbelief, it's about disqualification. She wore this, she drank that, she went there. All code for she asked for it. It's no accident that sexual violence survivors are often more afraid of social judgment than they are of their perpetrators. In India, many survivors choose silence over speaking out, not because they don't want justice, but because they know what society will do to them, not to the men who violated them, but to them. Shame is also used horizontally by women against other women. Mothers shaming daughters, neighbors policing what other girls wear, aunties gossiping. It's how the system sustains itself by turning victims into gatekeepers of the very code that oppresses them. Think of how shame is embedded in language. A woman who owns her desire is fast. A divorced woman is damaged goods. A woman who doesn't want children is selfish. A woman who speaks too much is loose mouthed. A survivor who names her abuser is ruining his career. Let's be clear. Shame is political, it's not random. It's a tool to keep women, especially marginalized women, in their place. It tells them, your worth is conditional and we are watching. So ask yourself, what would women's lives look like without shame? How much of our energy, our joy, our fire has been wasted just trying not to be shamed? And more importantly, what happens when we refuse to be shamed? Shame in the age of screens, digital honor policing, and resistance. If shame has long been the visible fence around women's lives, then in the digital age, that fence has become electrified. Today, a woman's body, voice, laughter, even silence can be screenshot, surveilled, judged, and punished in seconds. Social media has become a public square where honor policing plays out in real time, not just through moral outrage, but through algorithms, trolls, deepfakes, revenge porn, and doxing. In many cases, shame is used to punish women for crossing boundaries of caste, class, religion, or sexual normativity. If you marry someone of your choice, if you post a selfie in a crop top, if you express political anger online, you are seen not just as rebellious, but as dishonorable. A threat to the collective reputation of your family, your community, your nation. And so they come for you. But here's the twist. Shame can be undone, and it's being undone. Today, young people are pushing back. They are calling out slut shaming, reclaiming pleasure, creating safe online spaces, speaking up about mental health, queerness, caste trauma, and desire. They are saying we will not be silenced. We will not carry the shame that was never ours to begin with. Digital shame may be fast and viral, but so is digital resistance. What would it mean to rewire shame, not as a tool of control, but as a signal of system gone wrong? What if instead of asking, what will people say, we asked, why are people so afraid of our freedom? Silver screens and silent shackles, cinema, media, and the culture of shame. Cinema is often called a mirror to society. But let's be honest, it's a mirror that often distorts, beautifies, and reinforces the very systems of power it claims to reflect. And when it comes to women's honor and shame, popular media has long been both a narrator and an enforcer. In countless Bollywood films from 1950s to even today, a woman's worth is tied to her sexual purity. If she is chaste, she is worshipped. If she is violated or even seen as available, she becomes a site of pity or punishment. Take, for instance, films like Damini or Pink, where the woman's suffering is legitimate only if she is seen as respectable, middle class, and non consensual. Rarely do we see stories where a woman owns her sexuality without facing moral backlash. Even when rape is shown on screen, it's often sensationalized. The survivor becomes a symbol of family shame with dialogue like, "Ab hum kis muँह से दुनिया का सामना करेंगे?" How will we face the society now? A chilling line that reveals how the family is seen as the victim, not the woman. Media too is complicit. News headlines often refer to survivors as victims of honor crimes, but fail to challenge the system that glorifies honor in the first place. Language like illicit relationship, ran away with lover, or brought shame to the family still fills regional dailies and TV channels. And social media? It's a double edged sword. While it gives marginalized voices space to speak, it also accelerates public shaming. One viral video, one leaked image, and suddenly a woman's entire existence is reduced to a scandal. Women are surveilled, exposed, moralized, often without consent and almost always without empathy. But here's the thing, cinema and media can also unlearn. Films like Thappar, Lipstick Under My Burqa, Lapata Ladies, Delhi Crime, and The Har are beginning to rupture this narrative. They offer layered women, morally complex women, women who do not exist for male redemption. What if cinema didn't just tell stories of shame, but interrogated who built the shame in the first place? What if media didn't just report on honor killings, but called them gendered murders rooted in caste, patriarchy, and control? Caste, gender, and honor. Let's talk about the unholy trinity of caste, gender, and honor, a combination that has long dictated who gets to feel safe and who has to be free and who gets to be punished simply for existing. In the Indian context, the idea of honor is never neutral. It's deeply tied to caste purity, familial reputation, and community control. And at the center of this control sits the women's body. Dalit, Adivasi, and Bahujan women have historically borne the brunt of both gendered and caste-based violence. The so-called honor of dominant caste families often depends on the sexual control of their women and the sexual domination of oppressed caste women. This isn't a contradiction, it's a logic of caste patriarchy in action. Take the horrific Hathras case in 2020. A young Dalit woman was gang raped and assaulted by upper caste men. The state machinery moved swiftly, not to protect her rights, but to protect the honor of the dominant caste community. Her body was denied dignity even in death. They hurried cremation and media blackout. The intimidation of her family, this wasn't just about gender-based violence. It was about maintaining caste hierarchy under the guise of preserving order and honor. As Dr. B.R. Ambedkar powerfully noted, the root of the caste system lies in the control over women. Intercaste marriages, particularly those involving Dalit men and dominant caste women, are seen as threats to this order. The violence that follows, ranging from honor killings to social boycotts, is framed not as criminal but as a defense of community honor. This shows how honor is not about ethics, it's about power. It is a weapon used by patriarchy and caste hierarchy alike to regulate who women can love, what they can wear, when they can speak, and whether they are even believed. If honor is used to silence women, especially those from marginalized castes, then whose honor is it really? And why is it so fragile that it cannot survive a woman's autonomy? Reclaiming the body, reclaiming honor. So women are fighting back. Movements like Pinjra Tod challenged moral policing in universities. Me Too in India opened conversations that had long been whispered behind closed doors. Women, queer folks, sex workers all are reclaiming their bodies, their choices, their truths. We must also remember that honor can be redefined, not as obedience but as agency, not as silence but as speech. And we begin by questioning everything we've been taught about shame and honor. We unlearn the myths that make women feel guilty for their existence. We hold institutions accountable: families, police, media, courts. We teach boys that masculinity is not about control, that a woman's dignity is in their possession. And most importantly, we listen to survivors, to the silenced, to the angry, to the ones who choose to walk away, not because they are weak, but because they finally chose themselves. We began this episode with a question: whose honor are we really protecting? And by now, the answer is painfully clear. It's not about the woman. It's never about her safety, her dignity, or her future. It's about systems: patriarchy, caste, class, and control that weaponize shame to keep women in line. From honor killings in rural India to the silent social exiles in urban homes, from the glass walls that trap daughters to the digital cages built by moral police, women's bodies have become battlegrounds for someone else's pride. But what if we refused? What if we stopped carrying the burden of honor that was never ours to bear? What if honor meant respecting choice, not punishing it? What if honor meant protecting life, not taking it? Every time we speak up, challenge silence, or defend a woman's right to choose, we are not breaking tradition. We are rebuilding justice. This is the personal lens. Thank you so much for walking with me through truths that are often buried deep beneath silence and shame. Let's keep asking the difficult questions because the personal is always political. Until next time, take care and remember, your life, your body, your choices are not anyone else's honor to bear. Do leave your thoughts and reflections at the email provided. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, keep looking through the personal lens.